So today's video, I'm going to call this Rituals and Creative Expressions, and I'm going to maybe do a little bit of a preamble before I go into more specifics to say, I have come to believe that humans as a group, we like rituals. We may not call them that, we may not even know what it is we're doing, but we have a longing towards meaningful habits, certain things around events. So for example, some people putting up a tree at Christmas.
So like traditions?
Traditions, but the word traditions can be kind of loaded, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I'll take the idea of traditions, rituals, creativity. As a species, we like having objects and opportunities that make special. So let's say Christmas, just because it's one everybody's heard of Christmas, even if you're not in that faith. Y'all have heard of Christmas. It's impossible to have escaped the
Christmas cheer.
The Christmas propaganda from capitalism. Buy stuff, buy stuff. But also
Walmart, yeah.
But also tradition, right? That and the human creature, if we take the example of Christmas, first, on some level, if I say Christmas dinner, everybody will have something unique to them. So pumpkin pie, and the smell of pumpkin pie, or for somebody else it'll be turkey in the oven, somebody else it's cranberries. Or we all have at least one kind of scent that we would associate with Christmas. We may not be conscious of it, but
yeah. In psych, we call them schemas.
Schemas, yeah. Well, yes.
So like a certain set of expectations you have in relation to something. So whether like if your family gets, I don't know, goes out the week before Christmas to go cut down a Christmas tree, and you come home and you make hot chocolate, and I don't know, you have a certain kind of dinner that night, or blah 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 blah. Those are going to be, that's your schema for
that's your schema for Christmas. Okay, I love that. So schemas, creative expressions, rituals, a template of meaningfulness, right? So I'm going to make an assumption here, and you're welcome to challenge any assumption I put out there, and that's part of why I put it out there. But I'm going to make the assumption all humans have schemas around certain times of the year or certain events. If we don't have a schema, I'm going to make an assumption that we have a longing for it. So let's say around death, around marriage or bonding with another person, around certain events in the growth cycle or life cycle. A recent one we've had a lot of chat about is graduation ceremonies. So we could also take that. There's Christmas and there's graduation. So we've had lately, because of C-19, people have been forbidden to gather in big groups. And what that has meant is people who just finished their 4-year degree in social work or their master's degree in social work, they have been deprived of the opportunity to walk across the stage and then throw a hat.
Yeah.
Myself, I've graduated from college, I graduated from my adult upgrading before that, I graduated with my BA, I graduated in sociology, my bachelor of social work, my master's degree, my PhD, and Vancouver art therapy. In all of those episodes, I never threw a hat. I never went on stage. Because for my life as white bush trash, it just seems like a waste of money and time, and it seems like a kind of dumb ritual, and I just don't get it, honestly, being sincere. But I do have every one of those moments in my life, I sort of ad hoc created a ritual. Mm-hmm. So when I finished my PhD, after defending my PhD, I went to an Indian restaurant with other women who had been in my study group. Mm-hmm. And we had a beautiful meal, and they gave me a present of a little goddess. And she's still in my bathroom here, 30 years later, whatever. So we all long for a ritual. We may not consciously have that, but we do have a schema. Like, who's going to celebrate this thing that has just happened? How do I make it special? Mm-hmm. How do I put a marking in that spot to say that happened? So that's death. Someone like Joseph Campbell, who's a very famous scholar, says all humans have these journeys, and we wish for a birth story. When a baby is born, every culture wants to do or say something special about, oh, the baby's born, it's a girl, it's a boy, it's the second born, it's in some way special. We all have the coming into adulthood story. So the going on your vision quest, or moving to your first apartment, or maybe among some upper class families, or going to Europe for a year because you're older. Some people, there's the marriage, the bonding with another person story, the breaking from mother story, the breaking from father story. So let's, again, going back to social work with victims of abuse, all humans have a longing, either conscious or not conscious, to mark certain moments in their lives, and it gives us a place to put our grief or our joy or our public recognition, our emotions around those moments. So social work with victims of abuse, many times the person who's been sexually assaulted or who has been beaten up by her husband, there's the moment before and the moment after. So we wish to mark it. In art therapy, we wish to talk to our clients about what is the moment for you of before and after, or before I went to court, or before I told my mother about what was happening, and the after. So those, let's say, threshold moments. So this is a thing, the pattern, all social work with victims of abuse wants to bring somewhere into our conversations with our clients. What were the turning moments?
Mm-hmm.
So first, what were those moments? Second, what do you feel about those moments?
Yeah.
Third, how can we put them into something that we can kind of contain or affirm or share with another person or hold that moment?
Mm-hmm.
So if we use the graduation thing, what happened was many people, instead of getting to walk across the stage and sit there for 4 hours while names were listed off from a book or something and shaking hands, what I saw was the natural organic human creativity. It looks like millions of people created moments where mom and dad are standing over there 6 feet away, and the young person and the facilitator of the ceremony 6 feet over here, and they walked across the lawn at home and somebody took a camera and took pictures, right? So the person can still say, well, there's the moment before I graduated, here's the moment where I walked across my mother's lawn, here's the moment where in space we did an imaginary handshake, and then I got my diploma, or I got my degree, and then I threw the hat, right? So I took that as, in a way, a great big testament for how deep the longing is for the parents to be able to show off their kid, for the young person or whatever age person is there. I graduated with my MSW. I also saw literally dozens of people take a Facebook picture, a picture of the degree that came in the mail, and then post it and have a sort of statement or declaration, and then maybe 65 people said, congratulations, you deserve this, applause, right? So there's their moment, their threshold moment. Right? Mm-hmm. So how do we create that with our victims who've been hurt? So I would suggest to you that if you can create with each unique person in front of you, or in a women's healing circle, a wife assault healing circle, an object that they can impose and explore feelings and images. So a very common one that I've heard of from women's shelters is take a box, any kind of little box, like a little jewelry box, and a very common kind of version of this that I've heard of is you put words on the inside of the box. So I felt shame, I felt rage, I felt despair, I felt lost. So all kinds of words inside. And on the outside, I didn't let the neighbors know. I tried to not let my parents know he was abusing me. We still would go out to dinner and I'd dress up and put makeup over my bruises and so on. So they're using the box to talk about their inside self while they were in an abusive relationship and their public or outside self.
Mm-hmm.
And where I've heard this ritual go even further is at some point to take that box outside, and I did this with a group of women once, a version of this. Take it outside with a torch. Make sure there's water nearby, as we did. Burn things wisely, I always say, and torch it. Right? So she's left the abusive relationship. She's had a chance to explore all her inner feelings. She's shared with the other people in the group, because that's what you do at some point in the group, to say, does anybody want to talk about their box? Does anybody want to share their inside feelings or the contradictions between what was the inside in your marriage or inside in your house and what you publicly shared or talked about or presented? You invite the people in the group to share their feelings and thoughts, but not if they don't want to. And then now you have the ritual of that part of your life is somewhat behind you now. By burning it, torching the whole thing, and then you can create a new box of, okay, now that you are not in that relationship, what do you wish to have inside? Joy, hope, strength, affirmation, independence, creativity, fervor, multiple orgasms. Yay! To paint the living room the color I want the living room to be. Right? Integrity, safety. So people could put all those words on the inside, and then invite them, what do you want to put on the outside? I'm to be treated with respect. I'm to be treated with kindness. I get to pick what colors I want to wear, because many times our perpetrators or abusers have told us how they want us to dress, what they want us to eat.
Yeah, and it's not always, like, explicit. Like, sometimes it's just like, oh, you look way better in black.
Right. Your ass looks fat in that pair of pants. Why don't you wear a dress? Right? Or the opposite, right? That the perpetrator is controlling how we present to the world and how we're told to feel. So I give that as a very commonly utilized in therapy groups experience. What was on the inside, what was on the outside, burn that or bury that, get rid of it. What do you want to be on the inside, what do you want to be on the outside, and then invite people to share as they go along in this circle. And this is surprisingly helpful for people. Part of where it's so helpful is you get to hear, wow, it's not just me. He used to tell me I was so stupid. Oh yeah? My guy used to tell me I was so stupid. Yeah? My asshole ex used to tell me I was stupid. You don't seem stupid to me. You seem creative and smart. Yeah. No. Because the perpetrator, that's one of the things that happens, is they groom us, and we talked in a previous video about how grooming, over a period of time, the perpetrator diminishes us, shames us, guilts us, isolates us, controls maybe the money or resources that we have access, starts to tell us lies about who we are, diminish our sense of our own intellect and efficacy, and we start to believe some of those things. That's one of the sort of syndromes or patterns that goes with abuse. So in these healing circles, as you're making these boxes, you come to realize, whoa, for 24 years I thought of myself as kind of okay, not maybe brilliant, but I was smart enough to get through life. And then for the 2 years I was with him, I started to doubt all my decisions and all my beliefs. And now that I'm stepping away from that relationship and I have these women here and my facilitator here reminding me, wow, I'm actually pretty smart. I'm actually quite brilliant in some ways. I'm very effective as an adult. That's part of what he stole from me, was my self-esteem. Yeah. So this task of making the boxes, that's just a very doable example. It's very affordable. You collage things, no complex art techniques. You, as the facilitator, write down a bunch of words on the computer and print that out. So strength, control, hope. So write all the words that might belong on the inside, the outside of either of those boxes, and you print that all out and you put it all available for them so they can glue it in. You make everything very easy for them. a bunch of magazines that they can read.
Dictionary.
Dictionaries are very, very good. Oh my gosh, they can pull words from having 10 or 20 dictionaries and get them very affordably from Valley Village. They can rip out those words. He told me I was fat. He always told me I was fat. My father would make comments, in my own case, my father would make comments to my mother while I was there, if I hope you don't grow up and have a fat ass like her. And it made me feel really worried about asses in a distorted kind of way, but it also divided my mother from me. It separated and conquered us, right? And it made our external visual selves judgeable. Right? Those are things no one should be commenting on. That's nobody's business. And big butt, little butt, who cares? So what?
It's hers.
It's hers. And it was so disrespectful and such a verbal violence on both of us. And that's a very common thing. This story I'm telling you is not rare. Where a man, ongoingly and without invitation and only with the purpose of diminishing us, comments on our body parts. It's very wrong, and it's a type of assault. So there's an idea making these boxes. Now recently, just before Christmas, as you've heard in previous videos, my husband has been very ill with different kinds of cancers and cellulitis and so on, and he died on February 19th. Well, this was just before Christmas. I facilitated a group with women, and it was just a kind of share thing, let's say a Saturday afternoon, and then we met again, I think, the following Saturday. So it was just 2 quick sessions. But I invited us all. I found these little mailboxes, and, we've all seen, or I think very many women have seen, You've Got Mail. It was a movie about people finding mail and falling in love and messages. But the idea of You've Got Mail, we've all seen a mailbox. Whenever you're designing these creative rituals and tasks and projects, the more it's a common image out there, or a common archetype or schema, the better. Because then you don't have to really catch people with you. They're I know what a mailbox is, right? Everybody knows that. So here's this mailbox. And so we could paint the mailbox however you wanted. And if you wanted to put some kind of a background to the mailbox, you could. And I ended up making 2 mailboxes, but they were all invited to make as many as they wanted, however they wanted. So You've Got Mail. And this one here is actually about my job. So one of them was about the year coming. And this one is about 20 years at my job, 20 years at UMBC in 2020. 20 years in 2020. And this is the thing. So all these little parts have stories, and as I've mentioned in a previous video, and as is no secret, we've had 2 strikes at UMBC, and we've had a lot of disruption. And of course in December I did not see the whole SARS, C-19 coming, so this whole thing, I was thinking of what is it like now for me, what am I imagining, what do I wish for my 20th year at UMBC, 20th year in 2020. So this is all about my job, and this is a spiral, and this is at one point one of the people from management had called us the worst behaved professors in Canada. So here's the button, worst behaved and proud. And there's lots of parts to this story, and I won't belabor all of them, but the idea that I know that this year, my 20th year, that I'm just ending and starting my 21st, let's say, at UMBC, here's the part I wished everyone to make. I put these little shopping bags here inside, and I can put little notes in here as the year goes on, completing my 20th, moving into my 21st. As the year goes on, I can keep adding to this. So this is meant to be a reflective space during this whole 52-week period. And I also put these little clips here so that I can clip monsters on here, other things. And you see there's another, like, ew! And to give an example, we've been without a contract since June last year, and June is almost over this year, and we're still waiting for the mediator to kind of resolve some stuff for us. So this kind of a ritual is a useful space, and it doesn't end. This is what I want to offer you today in this video about rituals and creative expressions. Even when I finished my 21st year at UMBC, in my 22nd year when I look back, I might have more things I want to put in here, because some experiences in life are like that. They don't have complete tidy closure. Recently I found out someone that I knew someone was very mean to me. And they're gone, they quit, life went on, blah, blah. This last weekend, today's Monday, I heard something more about that person and why they were mean to me that I didn't know before. Right? I'm sure you've all had that kind of experience where, oh, that's part of what was going on. They were friends with so-and-so. Right? Yeah. So I offer you this little task. This was very easy to put together for this two-part workshop with the women about the year behind us, the year ahead of us, and the openness. Through using the box, like I said, for the groups of women in healing, or a mailbox. You could have a bank account. If you had, let's say, like some of us used to have when we were younger, you had the piggy bank, right? Well, there's piggy banks like that where you can open the bottom. There's some where you can only get your money out by smashing the pig, right? I don't want us to have that. If you were working with, let's say, women who've been abused and they're building a future, right? So you could have a piggy bank, but something that they could open and keep putting memos in and take memos out. So that the mailbox, the box, the piggy bank. There's probably other images that I could come up with, but oh, I have one. This is another one that you could have these days. These are very available at places like Michael's. This is a fake book, right? So the idea of a container, whether it's a box, a mailbox, a piggy bank, or a book, there are aspects of life for people who've been victimized in some way through an abusive relationship, through an abusive organization that you've worked at, some turning point where you want to be able to keep adding and subtracting. So I'm going to invite you to come upstairs now, and I'm going to show you another kind of thing like this, the other mailbox. So this was 20 years at work. The one upstairs, which is more private to me, I have it in my bedroom, and I'll show you that. You'll follow me upstairs now. Not everybody gets to come into my bedroom, so you're going to have
You're welcome.
A big invitation here today. So come on, Stephen. We'll go upstairs, and I'll show you the other part of that. And while we're up here, I'll show you another ritual kind of exercise that you can do about grief. Creativity and healing. So this one here, if you could get the camera, maybe come over here for a minute and get the camera right on it. You see I'm still in the building and rebuilding process. And now I'll pull it out and I'll talk about it like I did the one downstairs. So why I think it's important to show this one to you today for this video is, this one is the same basic ingredients as the one that I showed you downstairs. So I invited the people in the room, it was all women, to say, you could take two mailboxes and you could do one about your personal life and one about your work life. Or you could put them together. So again, you see, I'm offering people the choice. Whenever you're doing groups, the more you can give them opportunities to say, well, you could either journal, like we said about the men's group in a previous video. You could journal, and or you could work on this box, and or you could work on canvases, and or you could work on dream catchers. And you've got all the resources for each of those projects in particular piles. So people who've been victimized in life, often they've had all their choices taken away from them. They've literally had their own body taken away from them while they were being beaten or raped or sexually abused, right? And it doesn't get more intimate than that. Someone invading your vagina or your anus or your mouth. That's the ultimate violation and betrayal. No choice. Here, as creative therapists to people, we're saying, I respect you and I honor you and I respect all the parts of you and I witness all the parts of you and I want you to always be in control. I want you to choose. So I chose that day, because I'm always modeling and working with them, to have one about my personal life, and I showed you the one downstairs about my work life. So live in the moment. My husband and I knew, the doctor had said at one point, you have between 6 months and 2 years left. So we knew. And in the end, he died at 11 months. 11 months after that diagnosis. So I was trying to be a crazy unicorn and live in the moment. And that was why that ended up being on my mailbox. And ongoingly, I've been putting little memos in my mailbox here about my story with my beautiful husband and how things have changed and where I'm at now. He died 4 months and 2 days ago. And I knew when we made these that he was going to die soon. But I didn't know, is it another year? Is it tomorrow morning? There was that constant anxiety. So having a chance to make these little memos to myself from my mailbox for this year coming was really important to me. And I put the cone here, and I offered that to everybody. A cone is an incredibly big tree. A cone is 40 feet tall. A cone is this wide. But it's just a cone now, right? Mm-hmm. So I was starting to imagine my future after my husband died. And I've had a lot of tears as I made this. And I made this also, the suitcases here. If you can see the suitcases. I also put those out for everybody in the room. Like all the resources that you're seeing here, each woman used them in different ways, right? And I knew that this year, 2020, was going to be the year where I became a widow. It might have turned out to be the last day of the year, or the day after we started this art project. And everybody in the room knew too, because they knew Ken and, small town. But I knew we still would have our writing, we still would have our creativity, the suitcases, and Buddhism. I've got little Buddhism images all over in here. And this is my future me. I'll turn it around so you can see the other side. Walking by myself with a dog, someday a little dog. And Ken and I had often talked about when I retired we would get a dog. As it's turned out, we didn't get a dog. But I'll still get a dog someday. So this is there. You can see it's invoking emotional resonance for me even now. But that's healthy. That's powerful. All of us have been hurt. All of us will be hurt. This part back here, I had put sad things there at one point. But some of the sad things now I've moved into my mailbox. And I show you there's notes in there. They're private. And this gets to sit here on my little spot in my bedroom. And I get to see it often, and it's open, and it's still kind of evolving. The words that ended up on the bottom here are serenity, courage, and wisdom. Serenity, courage, and wisdom, and those are things that my 18-and-a-half-year marriage have given me some serenity, courage, and wisdom. Yay! Yay! Now, what I wish you to take from that is creativity, ritual, ceremony, working on objects, sharing a story can be very healing, can be very evocative. People can have feelings that can feel like a volcano or like a 800-mile pit, but this kind of a object, using art therapy ideas and coaching them, supporting them, affirming them, and no two are going to be identical, right? That's the amazing thing here, and that required no artistic skill, as you've seen. It was gluing things on, pinning things on, telling a story to myself on the cards as I put it there, and that is open-ended. Well, if I live to be 94, this is going to be full of little notes. I might have to put a basket here of notes, right? So that idea too, that you're giving the client a place. This was only, let's say, 6 hours. 3 hours the first session, 3 hours the second session. And many times in life, you only get to be with your clients for a few hours. So inviting them to have something that they can still engage with as time unfolds for them. Now I want to show you one more ritual thing. This right here is another object or process or project you could facilitate a group around. The last time I saw my husband in the hospital, I clipped a little bundle of hair from his chest. He had a very hairy chest, very, very lovely and snuggly. And I took a clipping of hair from his head. And I put them in these jars. And I've also put like a heart here and little, these things you can get from Michael's or other stores like this, Together Forever, little sayings. Here's a set of wings for him. We weren't religious, but I just sort of wish to reflect on him as a spirit in the heavens. I wish to do that. I choose to reflect on him that way. And the star here, of course, if I put my face in front of that star, I'm going to see my face. That's how mirrors work. And it's light, and it's sparkly, and it's kind of a positivity thing. This is also a ritual object, or a ceremonial object, that I can keep coming back to. I have made a necklace with his wedding ring. I can keep adding to this if something comes forward to me that somehow belongs part of this. And again, this is just a necklace here. You could, if you were a facilitator working with victims of abuse, we've all experienced grief and loss. If you've been abused, you've lost your physical integrity, you've lost the marriage that you thought was going to happen before you realized he was an abuser. You've lost
your efficacy,
your sense of empowerment and trust. So anybody who's been abused, I'm going to believe, would benefit from doing something like this. And every facilitator, every therapist, I invite you, you could use string, you could use rope, you could use ribbon, you could use
old necklaces.
You could use a piece of knitted something, like a little mini scarf thing. You could invite clients to have any back piece. It needs something to add to. So I've used a chain. For me, circles have special meaning, like the circle of life, the circle of struggle, the circle of healing, so that particular necklace really spoke to me about that. And this is here. I have another one downstairs that I've been working on, or that's been in my life for years and years and years. Every time one of my cats dies, I'm the crazy cat lady of my street, and when my cats die, until this batch of cats, they're not wearing collars because they're all inside and they don't even try to run away anymore, but they all have a tag, like
name tag?
Busy. You go to the vet at the pet food store and there's a place where they'll engrave her name is Busy and here's her phone number and so on. So I have put their collar tag on this, kind of like this. I've put them on and I've put little cat ceramic beads and so on to make in a way like a grave site for my cats. Okay? The other ritual when my cats died, you met Busy downstairs. Busy has had cancer for 3 years and she takes a pill every night, but they told me, I don't know, like 3 years ago that in a few months she was going to die. She wasn't listening, so she's still with us. She's doing okay. I don't know if vets can even know sometimes. I think they just guess. They just go, what's the most expensive medicine we could sell? Oh, we'll do that today. But what I'll do when Busy leaves us, when her body leaves us, is I'll cremate her, as I've done with all my cats. And I take their ashes and put them in all the plants downstairs. So you got some plants from me. Mm-hmm. One of my previous cats may have been a little bit in there. Mm-hmm. So the cats get to kind of become soil, become plants, become flowers, become beautiful. Mm-hmm. So I'm sharing these tasks when people feel completely overwhelmed, as I did when I lost my husband. Being able to make this gave me a bit of a distraction. It gave me a project. It gave me a place to keep him safe, a little bit of him, the hair from his chest and his head, and my memories and values and beliefs and stories with him. And this is where I sleep. So every morning I wake up and I see this, and I see that, and I see those pictures, if you can put the camera up there. That's a painting I had made for him 2 years before he died, and that's his favorite cat there, Baby. You met her downstairs. And this year, for our anniversary, because he wasn't here for the anniversary, I asked the artist to make a painting of me. So now again, I wake up every morning and I see our little family. So I share this vulnerable story with you because it also makes me stronger. Paradoxically, I've just shared a vulnerable story, but all humans are going to have grief, loss, pain, something that didn't work out. It could even be over a job. Like sometimes you have the dream of, oh, I'm going to work with this company for all my life, and
I'm going to move here for this job, and it's going to open doors for me.
Yeah, you can have a dream, an ideal, and then you lose your job. You're going to have grief and loss. So you could even conceptualize that experience as you're a victim of abuse, in that the universe gave you the package of this company will love me forever, or that kind of thing, and then it didn't. So you have a grief and loss around what you thought your career was going to be like, and you could come up with some kind of ritual like this for the clients that you're working with. How would you display what you lost, what you believed was going to happen? Would it be better expressed in an art piece? I've seen some people have made quilts. I've seen quilts where you have, this is where I started, and you have some symbol, and this is next and next and next, so like 12 panels in a quilt. I've seen people use quilts where the whole group contributes one quilt piece, and they make a blanket, and then they donate it to a women's shelter, or they donate it to the Humane Society for an animal to be warm and safe under this blanket. So, just to summarize, social work with victims of abuse, all humans long for rituals, ceremonies, objects of display, containment, expression. As the objects or cultural objects evolve, we also can share our stories with people in a group or one-on-one between the therapist and the client. And I invite you to let your imagination roar and romp and frolic and explore. Julia Cameron, one of my favorite creativity kind of coaches in the world, she talks about artist dates. And so an artist date would be, maybe invite your clients, go for a walk in the forest and see if you could find a stone or a pebble or a stone or a piece of bark that expresses something for you, and you hang it in your creative piece. Or go to Michael's and look at all the things on all the shelves, or go to Value Village and look at the things on the shelf. In a way, this is a three-dimensional collage, if you think of it. This is a different type of collage. And you always want to create these projects or set them up so that they always can express things in a good way without technical skills. So this requires no technical skills. A quilt might require technical skills, but the facilitator could be the one who sews all the edges together, right? So thank you again, Carlene. Thank you, Steven Spielberg, for coming here today to talk about ritual, ceremony, creativity, and kind of capturing and closing, but also remaining open with certain human experiences of grief and loss.